I present Ann Mills.
Lady Ann.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Ginny and I are going to kind of tag team on this, but we want to show you one way that you can test for bacteria. This particular method can be done in the field if you're very careful with your sterile technique. It means you don't have to be in a lab. And I'm not a scientist, nor do I do this professionally as a lab tech. I just coordinate a program where we provide these kinds of activities for students as they're studying watershed education. And we happen to be in the southern tip of Puget Sound. So they're adopting their stream, testing various parameters on their stream for aquatic life. Dissolved oxygen, pH, nitrates, turbidity and temperature. And then also they will collect a sample in a sterile bottle, pre-sterilized bottle, and take it to one of the high schools where the high school students will do this in a lab. Now a few of the classes will do this outdoors because you can do it in the field if you're careful. So I would say the youngest age that does this activity is 5th grade. But we just wanted you to see what's involved in testing for bacteria. So the first question that you guys are going to know the answer to, because you've been involved with this all week so far, is if we're talking about fecal coliform, and Ginny's going to talk in a minute about the various types of bacteria we might want to test for, where does fecal coliform come from?
Boo!
Doo-doo and caca!
Yeah, that's right. So but we also tell the kids we all have it in our gut. Fecal coliform is good, bad, and the indifferent. We need bacteria in our digestive system to do our digestive process. However, it can be an indicator, because it's from poop, that pathogens could be present. So there may or may not be pathogens in the fecal coliform. Go ahead,
I'm not
correct
as
me.
comfortable about fecal coliform, and we generally treat fecal coliform as a bad thing. Total coliform is what we look at.
Okay.
Because that lives in the environment, but it's also an easy test for, do we test further for, are there potential pathogens? In drinking water within the state, if we find fecal or E. coli, fecal coliform, we issue an immediate boil water notice.
Well, yeah,
So
you don't want it, okay.
Yeah, we treat them both really seriously, even because they're indicators of disease,
Right.
disease-causing germs, like pathogens, human pathogens. So think of kids, geologists talking about bugs. I deal with bugs that are part of rocks. So excuse my limited biological bent, but we're looking for bacteria, so disease, waterborne disease causing a pathogen, protozoa, parasites that are bigger than microscopic, they're bigger. And we also have some concerns for viruses, but it's hard to test for every possible thing, and they all take different kinds of tests. So we rely on some simple indicator tests to look for certain kinds of things. And for whatever reason, we find that the coliform and the E. coli and fecal coliform tests are fairly easy to do. They can be done repeatedly. They don't require killer. They're not overly expensive. You can screw them up, but it's not that hard to learn how to do them well. In fact, one of the state's certified laboratories is a high school in Eastern Washington. They commercially do laboratory analysis for public water supplies. It's the Whitman one, and they have a small incubator, and they run it in their science program, and it's a part of a way of providing a real service in a rural part of Washington where you've got to do the samples within a certain amount of time, because you're really going to grow. You're going to take water, put it in an environment where the bugs, if they're there, are going to be happy, and they're going to grow. And then you're going to see what's there. So this is the kind of stuff that where the water looks clean, this is the only thing that might convince them that there's something else there that could make them sick. And so, like I said, there's a lot of things that could be in the water. Most commonly here, we think about the coliform, we think of Giardia, Cryptosporidia, things that can be traveled both in the organism stage, but also in what's called a cyst, a small, and I'm going to use back an egg-like, a dormant phase. And it can move through you and other animals into the environment. You can ingest it, and it can find a healthy, friendly place to be and make you sick. So those are things we look for, but they become more challenging to look for in water samples in particular, to look for cryptosporidium, we have to go through a whole lot of water to find one of those little tiny puppies. We miss them, and we might think it's clean, but they're there, we just didn't see them. So coliform becomes it doesn't take a lot to take some water, put it in a growing medium, and see what grows. It gives us a lot of information in a short amount of time.
So like she said, the drinking water standard would be 0. I mean, you want to find any. However, this is for surface water, and like for instance in our county, for bodily contact, which would be swimming, fishing, and so on, the standard would be under 50 colonies of bacteria per 100 milliliters of water filtered. But so it depends on the use, you know.
Remember yesterday, the graduated cylinder, we did the sand analysis, that was 100 mils. Okay, that's 100 milliliters of water.
Yeah. So I have some rubbing alcohol in here to keep my tools sterile in between. Now one way we can test whether we're using sterile technique is to do a blank. So we'll run one using distilled water. And that water has been distilled, so there's no bacteria in that water.
It's been boiled and recondensed,
Right.
so we know there's no bugs or pathogens that live through that process. So assuming the bottle was handled appropriately and sterile, we shouldn't get anything from it.
Right. And if you do, then you know your other results aren't totally right because you have introduced some bacteria in there. Now the problem today is that I have only one unit, so I'm going to run my blank first because that shouldn't contaminate my unit. All of our other units are used by teachers, and then if people want to do more later after, and then I'll run one of our samples, and then I can re-sterilize the top if people want to come back later. That'll take a few minutes on the stove. But the first thing we need to do, I'm going to have David read the directions nice and loud because he has the loud voice.
Thank you.
And
Note, reheat incubator to 44.5 degrees centigrade at plenty hot. Sterilize grab bottle, the top funnel of the filtration unit, and the sample syringe in autoclave or boil for 5 minutes.
And this I purchased is already sterile, but we don't throw them away, so we will boil them in the future. And all this was boiled, everything was boiled, or else is in. These are sterile, and these are sterile as you buy them, so they are disposable. The incubator's plugged in over there, and hopefully it's I've adjusted it once, trying to get it close to 44.5. We could check it again and see if
Think of it like a little dehydrated, a little oven.
Yeah, it's just like a little oven.
It's a temperature-controlled oven. We don't want it.
Okay.
We don't want it too hot. We don't want it too cold.
And the centigrade has a C at the top, so make sure you're looking at the right scales. Okay, David.
All right. 1. Safely collect water sample in sterile bottle beneath the water surface in any existing current.
Okay, so we went 2 places yesterday to get 2 samples. We got one out of Pass Lake. Is that right? Yeah, Pass Lake. The second one, Dennis because we couldn't find a stream around here. The second one, he happened to see a ditch with water running. So we grabbed a sample there. Now I did not do my detective work to figure out where that came from. I'm guessing it was somebody watering their lawn too much or something. But, you know, we can kind of vote, but I'm kind of curious about that water. So that would be my next choice. But if you guys want to do the Pass Lake, we can do that.
And just while she goes on, if you're taking water samples from a central watering point, what things you have to be very careful about. Do not touch the inside of the bottle. Do not let the inside of the bottle touch the spigot or the cloth. You really want to get it underneath the water where it's not being touched by you, because you could have stuff on your hands too, or the spigot could have stuff. So in order to test the water, you got to get just water.
Don't touch the inside at all. Okay. Go ahead, David.
2. Add nutrient broth from 1 plastic ampule to a petri dish and put the top back on and set aside.
Now the nutrient broth is supposed to keep chilled, stay chilled, as well as the sample water. This test may or may not come out correct because the sample water we put right in the fridge yesterday, and the refrigerator started getting full. And so the sample water got put out on top last night, so it didn't stay at room temperature. So that will obviously alter our results. But
We have more stuff.
we'll just
Better the nutrient broth than the salad.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, amen to that.
and there was nothing, you know, I mean, everything was closed in, so there was no danger to our food, but normally you would want to have a lab fridge or something. Okay, so I think you just said to,
So 1 plastic ampule to a petri
right.
dish.
okay. So open this. This is the broth. This is basically just food for bacteria, something for them to live on and grow on. And this is where we could, I'll do it all the first time. I was hoping to make it interactive and have people come up, you know. And normally, I mean, if everything is sterile, you're handling it right, the gloves aren't necessarily necessary because you're not supposed to touch in the wrong place anyway. And these are so big, I can hardly do anything in them. But all of our tests, some of our tests do have caustic and acidic chemicals, so we usually have the students wearing both gloves and goggles. If the water was known to be, you know, contaminated, you would want them to wear gloves and also wash afterwards. So you can prevent cross-contamination both ways. Okay, so there is a little pad in here and it's sterile. You can stand up in the back if you want to see.
She's just wetting the pad with the
And just
nutrient next to it. And that has to be refrigerated, so how do you take that out into the field in a cooler?
Yes, yeah, you take it in
You
a
take it
cooler.
with you from the US or the other? Well, you might be able to buy it in country.
Okay, let's set aside.
Okay to move this paper
Or
towel.
you can get them at houses, like paper towels. These
Yeah.
can be used in a hospital lab as well.
What about
So
the-
you can sometimes
move
pick
it
them
just
up
so they
there
can
or
see what
something
you're
like
doing?
that, and then for a hospital lab.
Yes.
they might have-
Okay.
You have to have that refrigerated.
Okay, now these were pre-sanitized, but I think it says to sanitize them anyway in alcohol.
Sanitize forceps, tweezers with alcohol and flame of lighter.
And we're not using flame today because I didn't get a lighter, but there's been, you know, some question about whether that's really safe for students anyway to be going alcohol and then flame.
But it's way cool.
In 20-some years,
Nice blue flame.
So how many seconds does it have to be there?
it doesn't say. You just,
Do we have to have a song?
no, it's just quick.
Alcohol's pretty
It's just quick.
tough on most living things.
It's just quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary had a little lamb again.
Okay, so see, this is when you start realizing, just like what Lori's been teaching us, everything is germy. I can't set this down anywhere, you know, literally. I mean, I'll do an inside paper towel here and hope that it's, you know, but I mean, really, I have to set it somewhere. Everything's in the world got germs on it or bacteria on it. Okay, go ahead, David.
Unscrew the sterilized top half of the filtration system. Place a sterile filter paper on top of the filtration system's membrane with the sterile forceps
Now, this is probably the part that I cannot do in these gloves.
and avoid contamination. Do not touch with finger.
Use your teeth then.
So it requires some fine motor. We want to peel back. And I want it.
You can, if I'm getting this right, you can touch the blue, you can't touch the white. True? False?
There's the grid. It's very, very faint. See, these here, the grid is, you can see it really well. So I thought I was missing a piece. Okay, so this is going to go right. I can just get this.
Be sure to place paper grid side up with no wrinkles.
Yep.
That's what we want. Okay.
So when things are packaged sterilely, it's not uncommon to have a blue field that represents one that you can touch and others you can't. But do read the
Okay, now I
packages
think I
because
already
depending
did
upon
this,
what
Dave.
country it's packaged in, it might be the other way
Screw the
around.
top of the filtration system back onto the base.
There's screwing your white part. There you go.
No, they have the filter paper. Yeah, between the two.
Okay.
All right, add a small amount of distilled water into the filtration unit through the top.
This happens to be the distilled water, which is the same as our sample water, but that's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to need to draw some with a, yeah, I'm going to draw some with the syringe. So this and I could just draw it out of there.
You
but-
could, it's your blank.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not doing the QAQC.
Okay, so that's just to wet this a little bit.
Do this.
Okay.
That's part of my job. Part of.
All right.
Supposed to dampen that. It was a little more than I was supposed to.
Shake the sample bottle well.
And testing it.
Okay, now this is a lid.
In addition to all of it.
We would shake it well. Okay.
Using a sterile syringe, add the
Still
desired
sterile.
amount of the water sample into the filtration unit through the top.
Okay, now as long as I haven't touched the tip or the inside, I'm okay. And I'm going to draw 50 mils for now, 50 cc's.
It does say, note, if water quality at the sampling site is generally high, you may wish to filter an entire 100 milliliter sample. However, if water quality is poor, a sample of such animals such as geese or cows are present, filter less water.
The idea is that if it looks clean, you may have to go through a lot of water to find the bugs that are
If
problematic.
unsure, do 3 samples, 10 milliliters, 50 milliliters, and 100 milliliters.
Okay. Okay, and then that's going in here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at it and you can tell it's dirty and cruddy and you don't need tons and tons to probably find something that you're looking for.
Too heavy.
She's doing it with distilled water right now, which is the blank.
Okay, David.
Use the suction pump to draw all the sample through the filter paper.
What this is this pistol grip is literally, every time she
Swirl.
squeezes, it's sucking air out of the bottom chamber.
That
And
brings
it
the water
pulls
through.
the water
While
through
swirling
the
the
filter
unit
screen.
to reduce the amount of bacteria adhering to the filtration unit walls.
Which I never understood that.
It's so that you keep it moving so that it's pulling down through the filter and you're not having water stand on the side and just the middle go
There,
down.
and you don't want to pump too much because it's pretty much dry. You'll tear the paper if you go
Are you
anymore.
through?
Yeah, I'm through. Okay.
All right? Re-sanitize the forceps with alcohol and flame.
I've got a new sanitized one here. Okay. Re-sanitize.
Unscrew the top half of the unit and open the petri dish.
So open the petri dish. Unscrew the unit.
White ring.
That's right, the whole thing is attached.
Yeah,
This
you
is a
don't- you have
different
to
one.
be careful about the top
This is a
because
totally different
if
one.
you have
than
any
this.
traction there, it can wrinkle your filter. And if you wrinkle your
Okay.
filter, it kind of.
Using the forceps, carefully move the filter paper into the dish, grit side up.
All right.
There's,
Ooh, that feels, okay, that's good. Ah,
no pressure.
Okay?
Cap.
Replace cover on dish.
yep,
Label the petri dish
right.
with
And I
stream
was looking
site
for a
and the
marker
amount
here a
of
minute
water
ago.
filtered.
So when you turn it upside down to put it in there. Yep, that's what we want. B for blank, or BL for blank. Blank is our test one.
That's the control. We expect it to be 0. If it's not, then we know we screwed up someplace.
Okay, so we could put them all in at once. if
Or
we
they're
didn't
just
get-
selling you tap water in that bottle.
Well, you know, it's funny, we do make water systems tests regularly, and we have had water systems that were having problems that magically got better. And then we have it tested not for bacteria, but we also look at the minerals content, and you can tell it's distilled water that they were putting in their sample bottle.
Invert the test as you put in incubator. This allows
Okay, so somebody
condensation
want
to
to set this
rise.
on the shelf or on in the incubator? You just set it right in the little oven.
Incubate for 24 hours, plus or minus 2.
Now, we may not be here 24 hours, but anybody that wants to look in the morning, most of it should be, I mean, you should be able to see some bacteria.
Well, we can
if there
take it
are
out
some.
at noon tomorrow and show where we are.
Okay. So we'll
For
take-
lunch, just before lunch.
Yeah.
You'll see stuff, if there's stuff to grow, we'll see it, but not on that one. Next one.
Okay, now
So
we're
we
gonna
start the process again.
vote. And I'm gonna let other people do steps this time, and so it can be probably optional from this point on. Do we have to move on to do something else?
We will have other things to do, but let's just
Let's
do
run
a
them
couple
through
of
at
these
least.
first.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's vote. Ditch or pass lake? All for ditch? Raise your hand, count. All for Pass Lake, raise your hand. Well, that was close. I guess we'll have to do both.
We have to work toward consensus.
The people who went swimming in Pass Lake
No.
have a particular.
I was thinking the Pass Lake for the swimmers, but that was my own opinion.
Okay.
And choice.
And we have
She's
fish.
doing it, she can do whatever she wants.
Well,
Well,
okay, so this should still be clean. This is now I finished with this.
44.5 is what we're aiming.
So who would like to do some steps? I'll just get a volunteer for each step. How's that? So thank you, Dave.
Come on up.
we got two, I think we got some bodies here. Come
All
on
right.
down.
Now the
Technician.
first
Yes,
step.
you can go wash your
You know, I'm
hands.
going to label it ahead of time. So
You're gonna go wash
And you have to sing.
Pass Lake. Good idea.
Is that in there?
And I should say that we always do every test in triplicate. So we do 3 of each. So I don't have enough stuff to be able to do that today.
And we don't need to vote you, but
No.
that's because things can go wrong. Confident that your sample was representative. It's a luxury. When you're out, you may not have that choice. One might be all you get, and it might be enough.
So what we're going to do is open that and pour it in on there. So you don't touch the inside. That's correct. Just like that. Very good. Now good. All right. Now the nutrient. Would you like to add the nutrient? Yeah, just spread all of it. Just spread it around. You're going to empty it. It's measured out already.
What kind of nutrient is this?
It's just called fecal coliform broth.
This might be a blue one.
Hormone fertilizer.
O2.
Fertilizer, basically.
This carefully goes back on.
I had to do that.
Yeah. Good. Set it aside. All right, now you're going to sanitize one of these in alcohol, and you can shake the sample really well. Huh?
Do I wash my hands after
Am I
each
doing
day?
this?
You might wait it and dry it out a little.
Maybe I will. I'll
So
just
you-
wash my hands.
Okay, I'll shake the sample.
You have to shake it up so that
And you sanitized already, unscrew, place a sterile filter. Now, yeah, I'm sure anybody that's got better coordination than I am. I think this one's easier. Maybe you don't, but there's one on both sides of it.
So
It's got a cover on both sides of it?
Right now. Yeah, it's in the middle. See how easy she did that? Look at her. Yay!
Technician.
Anybody want to pay me to do this?
Don't get carried away, girl.
Unscrew it.
I meant like, anybody get a job?
We'll give her a raise from what we paid her yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
100% raise.
Okay, now we want now I'm setting that one aside. Here's a clean one. You can take out a brand new clean sterile one. These are bovine syringes. So when I go into the feed store, they think I want to give cow shots. No, I just want to do science.
It's the least expensive way of getting it.
Yeah. Okay, so we want a little sample of that water in there just to dampen it. Just
If you
pull
buy
little
it
bit
at
into
laboratory
Just pull it.
supplies,
That should
it costs considerably more.
Good, that's plenty. Now, you're not going to put all that in, just a little bit to get it wet.
Oh, yeah. If it says laboratory
If
supplies,
it's
supply, you pay
lab or
more.
hospital
That's good.
Kinda
supplies,
like
you will pay much
Jan's
more.
cost
The rest of
more
that
than-
out, but just
Sometimes
keep
you
that
can
clean.
buy the same thing, the same beakers and things in the kitchen department. on
It's the difference
store.
between a vase and a vase.
Okay, we shook the sample bottle out. You're going to draw our sample for us?
Sure.
All right.
How many cc's?
Up to 50.
Okay.
Now, we could do 100, but it just takes,
Yeah,
we don't know.
this
You're
is
going to
your-
put that way down. You
So I have to
can.
go.
It's hard on these. It is hard. That's why we normally ask the teachers to use
Sorry about
wider
that.
mouth bottles.
Now this is your
But
creek
these are
water.
the size the county gives us, and I have 2 of these.
This is your creek water. Irrigation.
You can get, I'm obviously get it from.
Which sample was this?
This is your creek water.
Creek or lake? How many mils?
This
do
is
you
Pass
want
Creek,
to draw?
Pass Lake.
Pass Lake.
How many mils do you want to draw?
Where you headed?
Okay, you're ready? So that's gonna go in there.
Wait, do we need to do this thing to get the water that's sitting?
Well, a little bit maybe, there's some bits sitting on there. It's all gonna go through. That was just to dampen it.
Del.
Oh, wait,
Okay, so
Just
that's
like baking muffins.
okay.
yeah, it's cookbook, it really is. Okay, so let's keep that clean for now.
Okay, and you're swirling it.
Yeah, so one of you swirl and one of you pump.
And part of that is so if you have any particulate, you're trying
Kind
to
of easy, gradually.
let the
And once it gets
particulate
dry, we
stay
don't
in
want to keep going, it
solution
can
so
tear
it's down
it.
to your
So they don't stick to the side.
Another way that we sometimes do it is we'll rinse the side.
These pumps are really nice, they're a little expensive for our program, but before the students were using syringes and it took forever, you know, to create the vacuum to draw it through. It's a luxury, believe me. Saves lots of time.
Now, Ann,
Now we're getting there. Now let's kind of, okay, now stop swirling and just a little tiny more till it looks kind of dry. If it's starting to feel, we don't want to tear it, so I'd say that's good. Okay, so,
It does look a little crowded.
pardon
We
me.
didn't hear what you were saying, so we kind of did that process.
Oh, that part there?
We need to take it.
About just now?
About the part.
Yeah, well, basically, you're trying to create a vacuum which draws the water through the filter. And I'm saying that the pump is expensive, but it's a luxury, because otherwise the students had to use another syringe and pull it through that way by hand, and it took a long time. So this is nice. It saves time. I'm sorry, I wasn't
All right.
that patient.
So moving on to the next part.
Okay, we're ready to do the next part, which is re-sanitize. And now we're going to transfer that to here, huh? You take the lid off. Yeah, it comes out.
And
then after mutual, I go
vacuum
Didn't
all
even
over there.
this way.
Last one.
Hook your hose up. Yeah.
Contaminated.
No, for the next, if you're going to use, if you're going to do one more test.
Kind of like
So we find somebody else that
you don't have a vacuum
Okay, so this,
already made.
I think-
okay, so I'll take this away.
And it's ready.
All right.
Now
But you know what we have to do, though, if we really want to be sterile, we have to boil this top unit now for 5 minutes. So we can just say anybody that wants to hang around.
Okay,
or something.
so anybody who we're going to go work with Dell, but we want to do one more test, but we have to boil this. We want somebody who thinks they have clean hands,
They didn't wash them.
but didn't wash them, and we're going to do a thumb.
Show what happens when an
put it in the oven?
thumbprint shows up in a water
Hold
bottle.
it like this and put it in the oven.
And the reason we want to do that is we're going to run water through it, and we're going to see what somebody had on their thumb and didn't know it.
Okay, all this is going to get sterilized.
but I've got a clean thumb, I don't know.
You
Touch the table.
I just threw my stuff away, but I'll just open it and expose
Scratch your
it.
head with it.
And then put it on.
We're going to have William's thumb.
It doesn't take much to see.
There you go.
Through our mouth.
There he goes.
We'll get the feedback from the FBI
Saving
fingerprint
that
cloud.
until
Oh, no.
That's the one.
He got stuck. Okay, now you can take your board, so you've got that free enough here, push them down so that that end will roll up on. Okay. Right, grab the board. Now, put it over here.
All right. And now it's screw-in time.
Yeah, the part of it. Right there. Is this stable? No. Not really.
Slide it back this way. No.
Here, maybe you can put it under, put that under right there.
This?
Under, yeah, under
No,
there,
under
one
the-
side.
No,
yeah.
I know, under the
Maybe
board.
underneath.
Thinner one. Underneath the whole board.
Well, how about 11?
Can't be too thin.
I won't be able to lift
No,
it.
no,
Well,
what
what's
about
wrong
a
with
thin
you?
one?
But how about if we slide this back?
Or just that
No, I don't think so.
How about if
Come right
this
near the
comes
edge.
right
How
over?
about you
Back up here. Put that down in your ways.
Why don't we just try and pull it out by spinning this?
We need to unbolt it.
Yeah, right. You go ahead, Jesse.
We need to unbolt it.
Unbolt it?
Yeah.
What,
Unbolt the top.
okay.
Oops, sorry.
Hey, Icky.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, unless it's a Microsoft people.
Doing like,
Unbolting, so.
you know one?
No, that's bolt on, bolt off.
Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Okay. Same.
We need more paper towels? Oh, we got some?
How that's all written. So you can,
All right, next step. No, Dell, you shouldn't do this. Somebody else should.
yeah, it gets me dirty. Good. Easy does. If it doesn't come easy, make sure it's easy. Up and away. Oh, where is it? Oh,
Open spot.
yeah, keep screwing. There you go. Lefty loosey.
but it's not coming.
Came from my hand.
I only put it in there with my fingers.
Looking great.
Fingers of steel.
There we go.
Down.
It's down on the grease. Comes real easy once the grease takes over. Just a little.
Oh, look at that. It's already come loose there, so it's looking good. Okay,
So we did this twice so it was really cemented in our memory.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although really cement's
So
just
this
a
is
powder, so
model
then it would
10?
crumble away, so it's...
This
Nine.
is a Model 9.
Nine.
This is Model 9.
That was to be a Model 10, but it isn't
Now,
right here.
Dave, have somebody put their hands flat
Okay.
in here and,
Somebody
tilt,
do
and
exactly
gently
what he
tilt it
said.
back.
Oh.
Now down, down, down. Okay. All right, tilt it back just a little
The whole
bit.
body thing.
Tilt it back.
Really chill.
Sorry,
go.
ready.
Can you not use an axe to separate
There you go. Now just kind of shake it around there a little bit, and then just kind of lift that away.
No, if you
And
A little bit
pull.
of the nose came off.
What
but-
The
beauty!
nose came off.
What beauty! What beauty!
Yeah,
Okay.
wow, yeah. Get in the shot, Ken, come
Ken,
on, get
right.
in the shot.
We got lots of room in here. We're like barely even touching each other.
Okay.
Smile
What a
and
beautiful
wave.
August
Cheer,
day!
woo!
This is
Come
actually
on,
Washington
yay!
State. We have sunshine.
That's hot.
It only rains in Seattle.
You know you're not supposed to let that out.
It rains every day.
It rains all the time.
Caesar, hallelujah, Imaneni 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 Caesar. Hallelujah. All right.
And then you'll mark it off here.
Thank you.
Then we will, we're not going to make the fancy one, which would be to make a mixture with and roll it under. It's really difficult without the equipment. But you'll see what the future,
sharp edges on it.
So anyway, we will make it the size that's required here, and then we'll need holes done in a 1-inch grid.
Right.
So measure that out.
Let's do it. So we need.
So have at it.
Yeah.
Anyone got a marker?
But we could go get a Sharpie.
Well, that is
You're gonna be a little big, aren't you?
I got a Sharpie.
9.5.
9.5, is that it?
Yeah, let's try it over this way.
Probably
It should be the same.
We got to make sure.
Make sure though, because I've had some of them off a little bit.
What do we got? I can't see it.
not all machinists make things equal.
But it could be within 3/16 and still
Actually
fit that
9
rim because
and,
that rim is
5/8
Okay.
and a hair.
Yeah, but he's saying, yeah,
that's to be
if
flush.
somebody dropped it and got it,
Or they had a welder that didn't quite cut right.
lost track on his
That's
memory.
9 5/8.
Okay, so it sounds like a 9 5/8 square.
Okay, good. Okay.
You want to be a tab, just a hair under the cut line.
Yeah, just a hair, so that when you want to put that in, that it fits. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man.
That holds a lot of water, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is thick enough, huh?
I'm gonna get that plate on.
Yes, that'll work fine.
Bernard, don't step back.
Don't anybody bend it.
What's it made
Well,
of?
when it's supported equally on
Tell
both
what's it made
sides.
of? Steel.
What's that?
Is that steel?
Yeah. And actually, this is thicker than some of the stuff that I get in Kenya.
Did we check
Then I just
the
about
corner
have to
we're
curl
working
the
off
edges
of
under
the square?
But what I like to find, which I haven't been able to find overseas, is flat
How many inches do you need?
plastic sheet.
They're making
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem because little particles of loose material are going to fill those holes. So don't freak out if you see a little bit of water coming out.
I had one. So I just went through that. We can get it out if it's
Maybe.
necessary.
if you could get a corner of it.
That just wouldn't stop.
Yeah. Is that mold going to have the same measurements on the second molding?
Yes.
So maybe I just make 2 of these?
Yeah, you can do that.
Very efficient.
All the same line?
Then since we're going to make 3 of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to lose the cut. No, we're not. We're going to use the tin snips on this?
Actually, go ahead and make a straight line across the bottom and we'll...
Yeah, I'm going to get to...
I think
That's really awesome.
you're supposed to wait.
Someone to hold the other side.
You're supposed to wait 10 days.
Yeah. Actually, you have a period ink. You put it
Put his name on.
Let me go downstairs.
with a piece of with tin snips there will be necessary for you put in your pack, or when you buy this piece, would you have the people who sold it to you cut it?
Oh no, that's something you carry with you. Because very seldom would anybody ever cut anything for you.
properly.
Oh, you could probably. He's doing an awful nice job there.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Square. Yeah, let's do it the right angle.
It's too close to the, it's moving up too close to the wood there.
Sliding.
Boy, she and Rosie Riveter would have gone along fine, wouldn't they? Boy, they could
She's
have built.
going to head to Vietnam, and they're going to be filled with biosand water.
Well, only because if Dean used to hold this. Tin snips have always been the
It's all in the hands of the beholder. Huh?
Oh yeah. Maggie and her husband are going to go to Vietnam, and that's why filter doesn't make things
They may do filters?
tonight. Yes.
But you try that. Well, log cabins work. They probably love log cabins.
It's still there.
A sheet cutter. I thought the idea was to keep the sheet out of the water.
That's enough of it. You've been around here too long, boy.
Oh, man.
Just a little, not quite as severe as the last one was.
Actually, yeah.
Travels real quick. Dean is probably done.
I guess it could be a fan.
One thing that you might be aware of when you cut this out in the field, as you trim, sometimes you leave a little burr along the edge there, and that's what my finger caught.
Which means there's a burr on the edge of these things.
Now there's one right there.
Dean, would you like me to go get you a Band-Aid?
I needed it today.
But the big catch is, we might want to make sure, well, let me...
You can put it down in the bucket.
You know, I won't let you take the metal foot.
I
like the stowability.
I mean, I'm just don't
Can you give me a little water in the sand jar? I'm going to do a little demonstration.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it should be relatively clean. And how clean? So basically, you go like this, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you can see your finger through it, it's clean enough. Doesn't have to be clear, but you do have to be able to see your finger. Yeah.
Can you through that?
Can you put it on the other side, your finger, so we can see?
You can't.
No.
Oh, I thought you just said you could. I asked.
No, you can't.
Okay.
And so this means you have to clean the sand.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And you clean the sand in a process by putting sand in a bucket. You wash it, and then you roll the bucket so that you get rid of the excess water. And you put more water in it, and you do it again. And sometimes it'll take one time, and sometimes it'll take 8 times, you know?
Because you roll it so that the sediment is...
Right, the sand keeps in the bucket, and the water rolls down the hill or wherever you put it.
Yes.
But the dirt is suspended in the water.
Right, is in the water, right. And then you can test at any point. Now, and you're only doing a small amount of sand at a time, but once you've determined how many times you have to wash it, you don't have to keep testing all the time. For all the other sand you do, you will wash it the same number of times.
Oh, very good, very good.
Okay, then what will happen, but before you do that, you wash your coarse gravel, which is 3 liters of coarse gravel. And again, you wash that.
You roll it in a bucket?
Yeah, same way, that's what they're doing now. And then once you have the coarse gravel, you put in the 3 liters at the bottom. Then you wash the fine gravel, 3.5 liters, and the reason a little more is because it settles more. You put that in, and then you start working with your sand.
Now the fine gravel, do you have to do any tests like
No,
that on it?
no, you'll just see that the water becomes clean.
Okay.
And that's what they're working on right now. And old peanut butter jars, what they used in Africa, where they would buy peanut butter, ate the peanut butter. And
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Other mold bottom.
Sandball.
It's going to be clay, right?
Sand when it was sifted.
Or it just, it's just.
Most of the internal sections of the mold do not have this groove in it for the hose to fit to. So in lieu of that, if this was a flat surface, we make a little tent. We put the pickup tube inside here, and we take a little tape and put over the end of that hose, so if there's ever any leak, well, cement isn't going to flow into it. We tape this down, close this up with tape, close this other end up with tape, and then you have another inverted groove going the other direction. So that'll be what we use in lieu of the notch in here. And it lays like that. So in the bottom of your filter, it's got a little.
Okay, but
place
that
like,
remains an air pocket once the cement has gone around
it's
it.
full of gravel. Oh yeah, when we're pouring it is, yeah. But then when we go to fill it with gravel, that all fills up with gravel. Okay.
And then it stays in there.
Sometimes, if it doesn't, if you can get it out, fine. Otherwise, it gets to stay there.
Are you going to put that in it anyway?
No.
Set that up there. And then take that board right there. On that. No, okay, that's fine.
See if will this one fit?
This is what went through.
Will this one fill the...
No, I went the other way. Okay.
But this is larger than 4.
Are we done? Yes. There, okay.
We need that coarse sand or the quarter inch.
Perfect.
No. Here, why don't you just put that stuff here?
Okay, yeah. Right. Yeah, let the weight be downhill.
Because once they put it, it's going to be there.
There's been one change in the molds from this mold here. This one has a nice little notch in it here where we lay the pickup tube that will go down and then becomes our spout. And instead, most of them are all flat on this surface. So what we will do is we'll bring our tube up here, lay it on the surface, and then we will place this little tent here on top. Then we will tape it all closed up so that cement can't get in. Just as a precautionary thing, then we'll take a little piece of, before we close it up, we'll take a little tape and put over the end of the tube just in case we have a leak. We have to look at every possibility. So once this is all closed, this is all taped down, then you can go ahead and put your grease on the top end of it and go ahead and fill your mold. You're ready to go.